A radical new idea. Usually when someone thinks of something new or different from the way we're used to thinking or things that we've heard before, it gets our attention right away, and usually it's like amazing, they like it, and some of us jump on board right away. But I'm going to offer a different perspective. In my opinion, I kind of feel like a lot of people in this way, when they hear a new radical idea, they're like, wow, that's so, I've not thought of it that way. But just because it's a new radical idea does not necessarily mean it's true. And I know that seems like, well, yeah, obviously, but I don't think a lot of people know that. I think a lot of people these days are very used to agreeing with the new radical idea because it's so new and it's so, new age and retro, or not retro, use that word very incorrectly. New age. They're like, well, no one's ever said that before. Maybe they have a point there, and then people jump on board and they go along with it. And maybe it's different from where you live, but I live in Portland, Oregon. I won't tell you where in Portland, Oregon. I guess that's pretty specific. But a lot of people, I feel like, in Portland, Oregon, if it's new and if it's radical, then they're on board because they're open-minded. But I don't think that's necessarily what open-mindedness means. I think open-mindedness means you're willing to listen and you're willing to think about it. But I think people have almost taken the idea of open-mindedness and turned it around into gullibleness. Just being gullible and foolish. Being open-minded does not mean that you're going to try everything, because maybe you shouldn't try it. Maybe it's a foolish thing to do. I lived in Alaska at one point, and there was a couple that believed that bears were people too. I know, it seems absolutely crazy to some of us. They're like, well, no, they're not. They're animals. But they were like, listen, here's this new idea. They have feelings and, blah, blah, and they go to live with the bears. And, of course, they're eaten by the bears. But they came up with this new radical idea that was just, bam, no one's ever thought of this before, so maybe it's true. Let's go try it out. But I'm saying maybe you shouldn't, just because it's something you've never heard of or done before. If someone said to me, try smoking pine cones, it actually does something to your brain, it releases toxins, it relaxes you, I'm going to probably say, I'm alright. I'm kind of relaxed anyway. I don't think I need to smoke pine cones. And they'd be like, well, you're closed-minded. And I'd be like, or I feel like my standards are separate from your standards in this way. And according to my standards, or not even my standards, I am fine without that, without the smoking of the pine cones. I'm happy anyways. Do I need to be open-minded to try it? Or can I just, we can just agree to disagree? Is that okay? I also feel like in a lot of ways people that consider themselves open-minded are extremely narrow-minded, because in reality they have this weird set way of living, and anyone else who thinks opposite of that they get angry about, and they will argue with you to the death. And again, maybe it's just because I live in Portland, but I know several people that consider themselves very open-minded, but people have suggested other ways of living or their ideas, and they argue, and they will argue to the death until you agree with them. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not making crap up. This is real. People do that, and I guess they're completely opposites of the spectrum, or this idea of open-mindedness, or this new radical way of thinking. Another thing that I have thought about is that people bring up a lot when they're trying to convince you to do something or to think a different way. They say, well, we used to do it that way. We used to get married at 15, or, but then suddenly one day I'm like, wait, like, what does that have to do with anything? We used to? Okay, we used to do a lot of things. Does that make it okay? Is that okay? Mostly for the fact that girls getting married at 15 in the Victorian era, and they're kind of trying to be like, well, I'm going to get married at like 17, and I mean, not to me personally, but you hear it from other people, you watch the news, and they're like, well, people used to get married at 15. Okay, people used to be cannibals, and they kind of grew out of that a little bit, amongst other things that we've grown out of. I kind of feel like as a society, just because you used to do it doesn't exactly mean that you should do it now. I think that you should grow as a whole, as a people, and learn not to do crap. Maybe you're not doing it because you should not be doing it. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it. So that's my rant-ish. Kind of tapped on a couple small concepts. Feel free to comment to my 4 viewers, or if you have any ideas, or if you want to post a video back explaining your ideas or why you might or might not agree with me. Totally cool. Alright.